You know New Zealand makes rockets, but we also manufacture commercial aircraft.
We were on the runway for like 2 seconds. That was wild.
It'll do that all day, every day.
We're taking you inside NZ Aero, a business with a 70-year history that's now selling millions of dollars worth of aircraft around the world. It's almost like this is New Zealand's best kept secret.
It sort of flies under the radar, if I can use that pun. When we first acquired the business, we had no revenue at all.
So this was actually an aircraft maintenance and operation facility during World War II?
Correct.
Wow. Hamilton is home to New Zealand's aviation innovation. This privately owned company is the only commercial aircraft producer left in all of Australasia. The chief executive, Stephen Burrows, is showing us around. It's the first time anyone's seen the full scale of what they do here at NZ Aero.
This is what the inside of the wing looks like. So there's no unnecessary weight inside the aircraft. There's no free ride for anything. Everything has to earn its keep.
So this is empty space.
This is empty space.
I always assumed they were solid.
No.
But that makes sense. Weight matters.
It's hollow. So what we use the space for is to store fuel.
It makes 5 different aircraft here, almost entirely in-house, including hand-making parts and doing the final paint job.
So this is our detail manufacturing building. So this is where all of the piece parts are fabricated from raw materials.
And this is important because you manufacture 95% of all of the parts that go into your aircraft, correct?
Correct. So we're a little bit different to other aircraft manufacturers in that we manufacture everything ourselves. We only buy in things like engines, propellers, wheels and brakes and some avionics. Pretty much everything else is manufactured here on site.
That's a dream for a manufacturer because you don't depend on any component suppliers.
Correct. So you have full control over the quality of the product that you're manufacturing, and also you can respond to customer requirements in a more expedient manner.
So this is actually a secondary revenue opportunity for the business.
Correct.
You can make them for your aircraft, which keeps it easy for your manufacturing process, but you can also sell them. If you can make more, you can sell them too.
Correct. So there's quite a few revenue streams to the business. One is the aircraft manufacturer. So that's almost a small part of our business. We support a fleet of 550 aircraft worldwide that have been manufactured from this site over the last 70 years. So they're out there in service, they all need parts. Aircraft are a little bit different to, say, a motor vehicle in that you can't manufacture parts if you're not the OEM. If you don't have the approved data, you're unable to make the parts. So that means those customers need to come back to us to buy the parts to support the fleet.
This business has an interesting history. It actually went under 4 years ago and was saved by private investors who put Stephen in the top job. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for having us here. This is incredible.
Yeah, thank you, Madison. Thanks for stopping by to NZ Aero.
It's almost like this is New Zealand's best kept secret.
It sort of flies under the radar, if I can use that pun. But it's come about through the New Zealand ag scene. So ag aviation really sort of kicked off in the 1950s, and the New Zealand government actually put out a white paper looking for a dedicated agricultural machine that could carry 1,000 pounds of fertiliser and climb at 1,000 feet per minute. And that was responded to by 2 companies. One developed an aircraft in Tikawiti. Not many people know about that aircraft. And this company, in its former air parts, James Aviation, developed the Fletcher, and that was an American design. It was brought to New Zealand. First 100 were assembled as kits in the hangar next door. And that really sort of kicked off aircraft manufacturing proper here in New Zealand. There was also the Victor Air Tourer that came out of Australia. That was a design that was brought here. It was manufactured proper in 1965, which then led into the CD4. The CD4 was a military aerobatic trainer, which was New Zealand's first aircraft designed wholly in New Zealand and put into production and exported around the world. So that aircraft's now 50 years old, and they're still in service today, serving militaries and training organisations.
Tell me about the history of this building that we're in. I believe this was part of a post-war effort where planes were being manufactured in the 50s. Tell us more.
Yeah, correct, Madison. So we talked a little bit about the CT4 being New Zealand's first production aircraft. Aero Engine Services developed that aircraft in 1972, and they sold it in numbers to the Royal Thai Air Force. In fact, they had an order for 24. They had no capability, they had no factory to build it. They were just occupied, a little hangar down the back. And the New Zealand government came to the rescue. They put in some capital and built this building here in 1972, which is now our main production hangar.
So NZ Aero, as it stands now, is 100% New Zealand, privately owned, but its history includes some government ownership, and not even just New Zealand government ownership too. Explain that.
Yeah, correct. So the New Zealand government had 50% stakehold in what was New Zealand Aerospace Industries Limited, 72 to 82. And then they sold it through to the Australian government. So it was government aircraft factories operated from 1982 to 1995. So it's had a lot of ownership changes, two governments being stakeholders in the business. Went into New Zealand private ownership again in 95 and changed hands again in 2006. And NZ Aero acquired the assets of what was Pacific Aerospace Limited in 2021.
And when was it liquidated? There was a period where it was saved, wasn't it?
Yeah, correct. So 2021, Pacific Aerospace Limited was liquidated, unfortunately. NZ Aero acquired the assets in April 21. And so we're into our fourth year this year. We're 100% New Zealand privately owned.
Why did you feel the need to save it? Why is it critical that New Zealand maintains capability to manufacture its own aircraft?
Yeah, good question. The prime reason for buying the assets was to ensure that the manufacturing capability was retained in New Zealand. Having a manufacturing capability in New Zealand is a special thing. In fact, in the world, there's only 30 fixed-wing aircraft manufacturers in general aviation.
Wow.
And you'll find the majority of those are either in the US or Europe. There's very few outliers. There's one in Brazil, there's one in China, there's one in India, but predominantly they're all in either the US or Europe. So manufacturing an aircraft is a highly regulated industry. It relies on a symbiotic relationship between the manufacturer and the government. So the New Zealand government, because we have a manufacturing capability here, is a state of design and a state of manufacture. So that gives us a very special place at the table of national airworthiness authorities. So special capability. If it was to disappear, it would be very hard to restart or rebuild that capability because of the relationship between the government and the manufacturer.
Here you're specialising in building STOL aircraft, short takeoff and landing. Talk to me about the use cases for that type of aircraft, and is it growing in demand?
Yeah, so New Zealand, due to our topography, I mean, we're mountainous. Everywhere you go, there's hills. And from a piloting perspective, you're always trying to outclimb terrain, which is quite different to other areas in the world, which quite often are flat or have quite large expanses. So the aircraft that we've developed are very good at climb performance. They're very good at landing on hillsides where you need that X-STOL capability. So the aircraft that we build, either the 350, which is behind me, or the 750, which we'll see later, can take off and land in less than 200 meters, which is quite unique. In fact, we're the only aircraft manufacturer that produces a type certified aircraft with capability of taking off and landing in that sort of distance.
That's an extremely short takeoff and landing. That's an XSTOL, correct?
That's correct. So that's where the name was coined, that our aircraft is an extreme short takeoff and landing aircraft.
So what are the use cases for that, not just in New Zealand in our agri-industry, but globally? If you're one of the few that makes aircraft that can take off, in short spaces, I mean, there must be infinite use cases for that, humanitarian, remote areas of the world.
That's correct, Madison. So humanitarian is one of the prime end users for our aircraft. Getting into mountain strips, whether it's Nepal or Papua New Guinea, high mountain terrains, our aircraft is extremely good at doing that sort of role. But it's also good for things like firefighting, air ambulances, medevac, being able to get into locations where other aircraft aren't able to get into.
So this is an E350?
This is an E350, Madison.
Can you tell me who this specific one is being built for?
Unfortunately, I can't give you the customer's details.
But the use case? What's it going to be used for?
The use case is oil and gas line inspection. So the customer is probably the largest oil and gas line distributor in the US. They already operate 6 of these aircraft, and this is a 7th one to supplement their fleet, with more to come.
Did the customer pick this colour? Did they choose for it to be yellow?
They did pick the colour, and like most customers, they specify the colour scheme of the aircraft, and then we provide what they require. So this isn't the final finish, so it'll actually have swooshes down the fuselage to break up the colour, but it'll
That's
have.
awesome.
Yeah, it's quite a striking colour scheme. They have another 2 aircraft this colour, and they've got some red ones and some blue ones. So the E350 is very well suited to the role that it's going into. It can fly very slow, so 50 knots, so around 100 kilometres an hour, up to just under 300 kilometres an hour, so around 156 knots. So it's got the best of both worlds. The key differences for this aircraft to competitor aircraft is it's a strutless design, so it's a full cantilever wing. You'll see that the wing is a solid one.
Of course, there's nothing attaching this to here.
Correct.
So how does this stay structurally sound without a beam here?
It's a beam girder design, so it's a one piece, so it's got a big carry-through structure that goes through and supports the wing, which negates having to have a strut. So other aircraft types might have 2 wings, a left and a right, that are attached to the aircraft, and then they have a triangulated strut on there to secure it to the aircraft.
What sort of numbers are we talking in export earnings for these aircraft?
Yeah, so the E350 alone, and probably in the next 10 years, will be around $30 million revenue into New Zealand.
Wow, and that started at what, when you first acquired this business a few years ago?
When we first acquired the business, we had no revenue at all. So interesting with aircraft manufacturing, it's highly regulated. And it's unlike other businesses, you couldn't just move in and open the doors and start trading. You need to go through a rigorous certification program. So that program took 12 months. So the first 12 months we had no revenue at all. It was relying solely on director input to keep the business going. And then there was a whole start up and build the business and get going. So we're into our 4th year. We're doing well. We've got good sales pipelines, and we've now added the E350 to our production line, so we've 2 aircraft.
That's amazing, congratulations. But if we can think even bigger, 30 mil, when you've only just started getting going and selling these things internationally, what's the opportunity out there for these aircraft in this business?
Yeah, huge opportunity, Madison. The 750XL, that's at a different price point again. We're sort of targeting around $50 to $80 million income into New Zealand from the 750XL alone. So it's important to have that manufacturing capability into New Zealand. Engineering creates wealth, and it's not just wealth for directors, it's wealth for the economy. It's bringing money directly into New Zealand. It's employing people from the Waikato. So yeah.
The company's history is evident in its hangar, with flags of the countries it's exported aircraft to over the decades. It recently made 2 aircraft for the Papua New Guinea Air Force and signed another deal with the Royal Thai Air Force to supply parts to maintain its fleet. It's defence revenue that relates to its past. I love these photos. Is this an aircraft that this company and its history, mate?
So in 1942 to 1946, this whole site was RNZAF Repair Depot number 1, and it was the main repair overhaul site for the Pacific Campaign. And after the war, a lot of the Lend-Lease aircraft from the Pacific all came back to Rockahire for disposal. So there was 550 aircraft here, mostly American-made, and they're all smelted down into aluminium ingots to make pots and pans and be turned into more useful products.
That's such a shame. I mean, these are beautiful.
Yeah, they're beautiful to us. At the end of the war, they weren't so beautiful.
So this was actually an aircraft maintenance and operation facility during World War II?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot of history here on this site.
Now NZ Aero is flying into the future with its utility aircraft. This is its major moneymaker. So this is a super pack.
This is a super pack, Madison.
Tell us about it.
So this aircraft was certified in November 2023. So this is the latest creation from NZ Aero. It was an unfinished project that was on the books that as a company we wanted to finish. We thought it was a worthy project. This one's been configured for skydiving. So the key points of difference between this aircraft and the old aircraft is the power plant. So it's got a much more powerful engine and a big new 4-bladed propeller on the front. And you'll experience the performance shortly. Shall we go for a ride?
Let's do it. Unreal.
Show us how short this thing can take off, right? We followed the runway for like 2 seconds. That was wild.
As a coincidence, we filmed this on the same day Boom Aero in America achieved its first supersonic flight.
There we are. That's B1. It's supersonic, faster than the speed of sound.
While this isn't as fast, future versions of this exact aircraft will be more savvy. It has the potential to become battery powered because it can handle the weight of batteries and still carry a payload. And NZ Aero is secretly working on opportunities to make unmanned aircraft. We'll have to come back to test that next.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Really appreciate it. Such good fun.
Thank you, Madison.
Thanks for watching Markets with Madison. If you enjoyed this interview, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below. I do all of the research for these episodes myself, so your support means a lot. I always love to hear your feedback and ideas, so please drop any thoughts in the comments below. Now go put your money to work.